are listening to the Balancing Act podcast. Here's your hosts, Jamie Wonko and Joe Vitale.
Recording.
Well, hello, and welcome back to the Balancing Act podcast. I am Jamie Wonko, and you are?
By all accounts, I believe I'm Joe Vitale. I'm trying to, make heads or tails
Well, hello there,
of the
Mr.
beginning
Vitale.
of the beginning of school schedule. Hello, how are you? I feel like it's
Oh, don't say it. Please don't say it.
November.
Don't say it. No, we just started. Don't
No, I
say
know.
it.
It's just the adjustment. One of our coworkers actually said, shout out to one of our coworkers who said, I'm just not in teacher shape yet. Like I'm tired. And and my voice is blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, that's what it is. It's just, just getting in teacher shape, just getting, being part of the
Getting
show,
back
baby.
into the grind.
Get
Although I
back into
have
the
to
grind.
say, still with our new schedule, it's much better than it was last year. I feel far more equipped than I did, having taught block scheduling for 20 plus years. And then last year going to 6 periods a day and teaching, 4 classes a day every day, rather than teaching, some days 2 classes,
Yeah.
there's a significant, like that whole mentality of, am I in fighting teacher shape? It's in, I don't know, because I'm also, every year we get older. So that,
Stop it. No, we don't.
saying, a little bit. So it just, so the volume, the number of kids that we have, the volume every day, then more classes
Mm-hmm.
daily means more transitions daily, more materials needed, more, lessons taught. I'm actually covering a class right now. And so it's bringing me back to my language arts roots a little bit.
Okay.
So I'm not only 4 shows a day, but 5
Oh,
a day.
I know. Go ahead.
So I'm covering a class. So now I'm teaching 5 classes a day every day. So that's 5 hours a day every day. And I have off a prep every other day. So, but it's okay because it's fully compensated work. The money is really good. So I'm not complaining. That's just, it's taken it's been a week, and but I don't feel like we've been in school for 4 months or anything. The other day you said like it's been 3 months, and
It's just the running that I'm not used to. I think we had
you
such a
are
good.
used to it.
Well, I am, but I'm not, because like the end of the summer, we really had shut it down, which I think was good for us. We shut it down to recharge the batteries a little bit as a family. We didn't have so much running around. We just kind of like laid low as a family and relaxed and did things. So I think like we were kind of in that uber relaxed mode. And then as soon as we went back, it's like, and go. So it's just, again, it's just getting used to it.
Yeah.
Getting
I
back
don't
into the swing
know
of
if
things.
you can ever really get used to as fast paced as we have to go or we're required to go.
Yeah.
Genuinely. I mean, that's why the breaks are so necessary and so needed.
Yeah.
And, we look forward to them so much because I think that's the part of that people that are not in education will never understand about the breaks that we do get. It's impossible to do this constantly, like a 12-month, or to do
Yeah.
it without the November break and then the, December break and the days off. It's just necessary beyond.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I want to find more, a balance with using those breaks to be more like purposeful and mindful towards. I have, again, last season we talked about what our words were, being intentional, right? Like specific, that was my word, like being specific to making choices that are going to, be impactful. And that's
Yep.
what I've been focusing on, whether it
Yeah.
be healthcare related or like stuff with my kids who just want to be able to enjoy that time as much as possible. So
Yeah. And you're
um,
like TikTok, 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 TikTok. You
yeah,
only have,
yeah,
Why, I mean, your kids are getting older, so
yeah.
that's closing in on you too. Especially because how many more months of driving do you have, really? What will
Uh,
you complain about then, Mr. Vitale?
hey, wait a minute. It's not the. It's I'm just in my drive everywhere all the time era.
Mhm.
Um, so and I think it's good for the kids
I
to
know,
be
but you
able
have
to.
only until May.
Yeah, but then they got to get,
And then
you
what
know,
will happen?
if they have a car, which they probably won't, because somebody else has to get a new car. We all know that that's going.
Right, but
Um,
if let's say they don't get a car, like, you can still give them your car and they can go where they need
oh,
to
of course,
go,
yeah, yeah, of course, of course.
and then what will you do?
I will,
They're not gonna put the seat back in the
I
car,
will
they're not
spend
gonna
time,
gas up the
I will
car.
spend time canoodling with my wife.
Hmm.
That's what I will be doing.
Ah, that's
Yeah,
a good plan.
canoodling is good. I mean, who doesn't like a good canoodle every now and
I
again?
mean, come on.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
That
Um,
is.
so yeah, we're talking about an important topic today. One I think that is an important issue in education.
But not
That,
more important than canoodling,
that not no.
of course.
Again, again, that should be the title of the episode. Who doesn't need a good canoodle every now and then?
I mean, come on.
Yeah. So I know that we loosely titled this today. I just want to pull it back up so I have it right. And now I can't
Well,
find it.
we don't have to give the title.
Oh, we don't
Let's
have to give it
tell
to,
the
oh,
title. No,
okay.
I mean,
Well,
come on.
we're talking about technology in the classroom. We were actually just given an article by our boss about like not overusing certain pieces of technology. I have specific opinions about the use of educational technology in the classroom as a proponent and an advocate, but also knowing that there are many pieces that are incredibly overused and that really aren't effectual to classroom learning. That's again, personal opinion is based on research. No, it's just the way I feel about it. I think that when you overuse something, it becomes a lot more lackluster for students, and they don't engage with that material the same.
Right.
So really talking about technology and the impact that it has. So is it really something that's going to be uh, making life easier for the teacher in the classroom, or at this point, is it a downfall? I think that's kind of what we're discussing today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do we use it? Do you not use it? Do you use it a lot? Do you use it a little? I have always, just like you, have been interested in the new ways and trying new things and testing out, Chromebooks. I led the charge at my old school for that, and kind of forced people into using it. I just saw the other day, it was like Google Classroom celebrating its 10-year birthday, right?
I saw that.
And I was trying to track, like, geez, have I been using it for 10 years? And I'm going to tell you that I remember when it first came to me, and this was about 2015. I tried to go. My boss said to me, "Go, I'll send you, you can take a PD day. I'll send you, find a school that's doing it, go and watch and see, and then bring it back here." And I had the darndest time finding a school that was
Mhm.
doing it. So, and then I'm like, wow, it's been 10 years, but it has. And I've certainly been using it for at least 9. So going into the pandemic, from already having used it for a few years, it was like easy peasy lemon squeezy. It was like, didn't bat an eye about it,
Yeah, same.
whereas there were other places and other schools, even in our own school district, where people hadn't used it at all. So I don't know. There are organizational systems involved in anything and everything that I think work really well. The problem, and I think that this was pre-tech, I think the problem with middle school, especially, like, so I'm going to give you an example. You're in elementary school, you're teaching with maybe 2 other people, max, big class, maybe 4 teachers that teach
First
a
of all,
grade level.
if I'm in elementary school, that's my nightmare because I don't want to teach that age level. I love that age level. I love like elementary kids. I
Yeah,
think they're cute.
no.
They're adorable. I do not want to be in a room of 25 of them.
No, I mean, and thank goodness that there are people that do. But so let's say
A
you're,
hundred, a hundred
you're
percent.
yeah, so you're in
Yeah.
elementary school, you're coordinating with like max 3 other people, and you're making plans, and you're, kind of figuring stuff out with that amount of people. So if there is an organizational system in an elementary school that you need, even if you swap for like social studies and science and that's it, you don't have much to coordinate, right?
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, we have years and years and years where a child has 1 teacher, maybe 2 max, that is giving them directions the same way all day, giving them their expectations all day the same, over and over, right? So you give the kid the first month of school. By the first month of school, they've got it because
Yep.
they're hearing the same directions in the same way all day long. Now, you
Consistency and
consistency,
that's part of, we go
the
back
issue.
Yeah, the issue, and go back to the idea of executive function, right? You want to have the same consistent message, start to finish, in regards whether it's organization, whether it's time management, whatever it may be. It needs to be
Right.
consistent.
So, what you now call executive functioning used to live as study skills,
Study
right?
skills. Yep.
It was a class. Children took the class of study skills. It was given across the board in 6th grade. And now we're like, just do it. You can do it. It's fine. Just do it. Get a locker, get a lunchbox, go into a cafeteria with quadruple the amount of kids you were before, go to 6 different teachers every single day, every single hour, and have them set up this electronic situation that you're living in a different way every single time.
Hmm. And everybody's expectation using that digital space is different.
It's different.
So everybody, like,
Ugh.
listen, we have in the district that we're in, there are many platforms that teachers use, whether it be a learning platform, or like an organizational platform. So for example, Clever for single sign-on, or Google Classroom to deliver content. But everybody has different expectations of how they're using that space. Which, you want to give autonomy to the teacher, but there's also something to be said about the consistency of having routine for kids at this age.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
so
never thought that 6th graders should have every single teacher assigning things differently. I think that there should be an
mhm.
across the board. This is what it looks like. This is how it's organized. This is where you'll find things.
I 100% agree, but I'll even go one further. It
Yeah.
needs to continue into high school,
Mm.
because some of the high school kids that I work with, they actually use different programs outside, and I don't have my finger on the pulse of everything. From what I can gather from looking at the students that I work, whether it be Schoology or Canvas, which are two other like learning management systems, right? So you have Google Classroom, which is the one that a lot of people are using, but Schoology has its own special bells and whistles, and then Canvas, which I honestly think is the best of all of them because of the content delivery. But the stuff is posted, and it's put in a way that's familiar, but it's also trackable. Like they get like a to-do list, which Google Classroom has, but it all depends on how the teacher assigns the assignment. Like
Assigns the assignment.
yeah, it's
Jinx,
very
owe me a Coke.
yeah. Oh, nice. So it's very challenging for a student in the 6th grade to go like, oh, this one's going to post the assignment here. Oh, but that one's going to write it on the whiteboard in the classroom. Oh, this one's going to put it and do it on paper. It's going to be on a worksheet. This one wants me to write it in my planner. And I'm like, nobody is putting these kids in a vacuum and saying, here's how we're going to do it across the board, soup to nuts, top to bottom in all the classes, which maybe districts don't want to do that. But I think
Why?
I,
Why?
I don't know. I don't know if it's just because I'm like staring off into the distance.
Yeah.
Since you're
You
not
know,
watching me
so
on
so my
the YouTubes.
yes.
Um,
My dad was a principal for, for 40 years, right? And something that he did in his school, which I thought just was so genius, but, even with paper, right? So we're going to kick it back to paper and say that before, having Chromebooks, people didn't do it on paper either. The kids had a unified notebook, and they
yeah,
started this notebook and they used this binder system, and this binder system started, and they used that binder system year after year after year. And every teacher did it the same. And parents signed papers and kids signed papers, and everyone was on the same page. And for parents, let's not forget about our partners, right?
100%. Yep, I know
Parents
exactly where you're going with this.
knew exactly what it was supposed to look like, where they could find what they needed to find in order to help their child, right? So at this point, too, even with parents, I mean, I went to back to school night for my own children, and I heard from 6 different teachers, times having twins, 12, right? And my husband probably, was staring out the window. Because we're very lucky. Our kids, are very organized and on
I mean,
top of their
that
own.
must have been awful for you.
Must have
That
been
must have been
awful
awful.
for you.
Must have been awful
But
for you.
I'm thinking like, well, this lady just said this, and this guy said that, and this person, and I'm savvy. I know where to find the things that I need to find and look for the things that I need to look for. But if you have another parent and they have, a language barrier, or you have families, children of divorce, and they're going from house to house,
Mhm.
we're very quick to say like the parents aren't and the parents don't, but there's no unified system for
Mhm.
anything. What are
There's not even a unified system in regards to like how is late work addressed? Like we're not addressing late work. We're not addressing
mm.
like
I will say last night at back to school night, it was 100% the same. That spiel was the same.
yes.
Exactly the same. Every period, everyone mentioned it. Every teacher.
And
Do I
having
think they're all going to do it the same? I don't, but
and having worked in that building, I think that it is it's a good system to have. I think
yeah,
when you put it into practice, it also becomes very, from a teaching perspective, becomes very challenging
I'm
because
sure.
because they're allowing students to hand things in. I don't know what the what but when I had worked there in the building, it was different. It was what was it? It was like one day late, it's 10 points off or 9 points off. Tuesday late, it's 18
Yeah.
points off, and then 3 days
No,
late
it's
is
just 5 now, 5 points.
5 points off.
Yeah.
Okay. So whatever it may be, but it then became impossible, not impossible, but very challenging to track the amount of late work and when it was handed in and who handed it in when and how many points are you taking off and when is it going to grade book and putting it in this portal and that portal and marking it down and making sure the students know what the grade was and the parents know what the grade was. But there was still no uniform way
Hmm.
for that information to be delivered, meaning
Right.
like the grade to the parent, to the student, so they were aware.
Right.
um, I am all for a uniform policy regarding things like late work, missing work. I think that there should be things that are uniform so kids understand the expectation.
Right.
100%.
Are we going to do it?
I
Probably
mean, but it's
not.
not. But it's not our. This is going to sound like a huge cop out. That's above our pay grade. That's not our decision. It'd be
It's
nice if
not.
it was. We can
It's
make
not.
suggestions. We
That's
can
right.
make suggestions and say, hey,
Yes.
we think that this should exist in this particular space.
Yeah.
But it doesn't. But then you also get people that when it's put in place, they're like, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to do my
Right.
own
Like I
thing.
hate
Which,
that.
yeah.
So I think that my way of using Google Classroom is the only way.
Oh, okay.
So if somebody told me that I had to do it differently, I wouldn't,
Okay.
because
Well,
my system is the best system.
yeah, but then
I know. I
therein
know.
therein lies the problem. So
Therein lies the problem.
we
But
would
I
need
would
to
want to
sit
be on a
down.
committee of people who say,
Yeah,
"Hey, I do
100%.
this. Hey, I do this," and then let's put it together for how
Mhm.
it works for the majority. I'm in for the majority,
Well,
right?
here's the reason why still in the year 2024 that doesn't work. Number one, there are a number of people who still don't have the necessary background or foundation to know the basics behind, let's use Google Classroom as the example, like how to do all the things you can do that are going to make your job a little bit easier in Google Classroom. There are
Right.
still people that don't know how to do that. Why? I have no idea. How many trainings did we offer where we were giving the basics of Google Classroom, how to get started with Google Classroom? It's Google Classroom 101. Okay, stop it. Because like everybody by now should know this. They don't, but that's just me. That's
Mhm.
and that's also me saying something that sometimes we say to students like they should just know this. They should just know. But we've also given multiple opportunities, and some people have dug their heels in
And said
and
no.
said no.
Right.
Number two is also your perspective on it, which is not wrong. I've been doing it this way. This works for me. It works for my students. That's what I want to do. We're going to do it that way. And then people are like, no. And then you have to decide if you're going to change or not. It would really take a change agent organizational shift for people to decide we're all going to do it this way
Yeah.
and we're going to make it congruent and consistent. And I would wonder like what some of the other heavy tech people
Mm.
that we have had on would say about that. Like what
Yeah.
do they think the best quote unquote best practice would be?
Mm.
I would think if we're going to be leveling the playing field, wouldn't we want things to be like I use a sports analogy. Like when you play a sport, you're supposed to know. And she falls asleep. When you play a sport or a board game, you want to know what the rules are, so everybody knows what to do. If the kids are dealing with different rules in every classroom, it gets convoluted and confusing for them,
Right.
which is one of the biggest issues that I think they face, especially again, we're talking about middle school kids because that's where our bread and butter is, right? That's where we that's where we live our lives. All about that middle school life. Hashtag Skibbity Rizzler. So all those things that
Bro.
we
Bro.
yeah,
Bro.
bruh. It's
Bro.
BRUH, bruh.
Bro. Bro.
So, when we are trying to come up with like, okay, what's the best practice? The only way to do it is to get a committee of teachers together and say,
Yes.
okay, how should we use this?
Yes. Yes.
What should
And
that?
why is Jamie's way the best one?
Yes. Um, which
I would be amenable to. I really would. I would be willing to hear, what works. And it might be by subject area. Even if every math, imagine 6th, 7th, and 8th grade math, it was the same, at least the same practices, right? So it's like click brain math. And it was the same for, I just watch the way that people post things and it's insane.
I have literally 2 tabs in my Google Classroom right now. Classroom materials, homework. The homework is all given to students on paper. The homework tab is, okay, I give you a copy. If you lose that copy, you have to go to Google Classroom and print yourself out a copy. I'm not giving additional copy after copy after copy. I also do my homework. A lot of times I do my homework weekly. I give them homework on a Monday and it's due on Thursday. I also
Mhm.
work with them and some of our listeners' favorite words, I scaffold for them how to build into their schedule. How do you
New
complete a long?
drinking game. When Joe says scaffold, when
Yes,
Joe says executive functioning,
I got to figure out a
when
different way
Joe
to say
says
it now.
mindful.
Yeah, when Jamie's plant moves from one side of the room to the other, then we also
Read a
can
book.
drink. Yes, read a
No
book.
drink. Just read a
Drink
book.
drink loopy. So we should.
Okay, wait. I'm gonna say this. What do you do for the stream?
What do I do for the stream?
Yes. So do the things that you post show up on the stream?
They do.
When I tell you that it now onto the section of this really grinds my gears.
Oh, is this the hill you will die on? I have lots of hills I will die on, as we know.
Shut the stream off.
Why?
Lazy bones. They don't look for anything. I never use the stream. I call the stream the refrigerator of our classroom. Only the most important things get posted there. Flyers, announcements, bell schedules,
Got
things
it.
that I need them to see, and that's it. And they need to go into classroom and they need to go to the week and the day that we're in to find what we're doing.
Got it.
They want everything to be given to them. Where's the link? Where's the link? Where's the link? Where's the link? And I watch them with other classes scrolling, 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 scrolling. The stream, I cannot imagine how anybody exists with the stream looking the way that
Yeah,
it
that's
does.
that's mine by the end of the
Woo!
year.
Yikes.
I also think what I might do is do different Google Classrooms for different topics. So if I'm covering like being an American and early citizenship, I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to stop, close that one out, have them go into another Google Classroom for chapter 2. To kind of like start fresh, but like the foundation's going to be the same. Here's your classroom materials, which has helpful links. Shout out to Dr. Tarver for his Google document for students with lots of, by the way, free. So I put that in there as a resource for people like, oh, you want to learn how to use Google Calendar better? Go there. There's a place for you to go. You want to learn how to do something in Google
Do you
Slides?
think they do that at this
There's
age?
there are a few. I actually had a few students that came up to me and I showed them one of the calendar videos because they were
Yeah,
trying to use Google Calendar.
got it.
And they were like, "Oh, okay, I'll go try and use that." And they
Cool,
actually did it. Like, "Oh, I was able to figure that out." So, yeah, is everybody
cool.
going to do that? No. Are they just going to Google it on their own? Probably.
Yeah,
But
but self-serve, that's good.
but I gave them something like that should be your first stop. Even if you're in
Yeah.
another class, go there. Go there
Yes.
first. See if there's something there that's going to help you. Um, I think that when we talk about, I would like to see like a better use of a learning management system. But
Mhm.
unfortunately, we're using Google Classroom because it's free, right? That's the one that we're using. We have Google,
Right.
like there's like an additional Google Enterprise Edition, I think that is paid for by the district, but there are better products out there, but they're just more expensive.
Yeah.
I had a teacher I was having a conversation with after school today about like, reaching the paywall of like a particular, so you want to do something with your classes and you want to do it with 30 students, but once you reach 15, got to pay for the subscription to have 30 and blah, blah. Like if we all paid for everything, we'd all be broke.
Broke
Okay.
as a
And
joke.
no offense to like everybody's got to make their money. Everybody's got to get their stacks on stacks, right? But it's I want to be mindful of that. Take a shot.
Read a book.
Yeah. So it's very challenging to real. I kind of lost my train of thought for a second.
I think it's challenging to try to do different things when you're willing to do it, but then you're blocked by the expense of it too.
Yeah, that's where we were getting to. Like
Yeah.
even like just little things. And there are some things that we pay for that we use, but like there's some that like, okay, a couple years ago, everybody started using GimKit. Shout out to GimKit. Great online program. It's got games, kids can play. Then what happens? Okay.
Come on.
Every teacher under the sun starts using GimKit. Okay. Every teacher under the sun starts using GimKit and playing GimKit day after day after day after day after day after day. I'm sorry, I'm getting broken record. And the kids, and I literally was like, I'm not using this anymore. I don't do the one thing you want to talk about grinding my gears, the gamification of education is gross. And these kids are gaming enough. And I realize we're trying to meet them where they are. Like it's GimKit, it's Blookit. By the way, great programs. Don't get me wrong. They are powerful. They have a lot of things that you can do. If they're using them as study aids, if the kids want to use it for a project, wonderful. Okay. What do I gravitate more towards? Quizlet. Why? Because Quizlet has different ways of learning. Yes, there's game versions in Quizlet, but there's matching and there's fill in the blank. And they have Q Chat, which is their AI feature that where it will have a conversation with you about the material, which is wonderful. Again, all behind the paywall. I have to pay for that in order to get it. And it's paying for platform after platform after platform.
Do you pay for that?
I did. I have not done it this year. I don't know if
Okay.
I'm going to go back to it or not.
Got it.
But I think that I did pay for it last year, but the Q Chat feature only works for the kids that I work with, like for the high school students that I tutor, because
it.
the kids of the age that I have now, because they're minors, they're not able to use it because of the, what is it? COPA, Children's Online Protection Privacy Act or something like that. There's some,
Not the Copacabana?
not the Copacabana. That actually, which is funny because that is the hottest spot north of Havana.
Her name was Lola.
Oh yeah, we're going.
She was a showgirl.
Yes.
Wow.
yeah,
Okay.
I mean,
I didn't know.
There are many people in my house that are Fanilos, that are Barry Manilow fans.
Oh, the Manilow.
Anyway,
and the amount of commercials that man has written too. Woof. So,
yeah,
Giggle
so
and commercials. Did you
yeah.
know?
So anyway, like we
Yeah.
like talking about the gamification thing, and that's one of the things that was in the article that
Tricky,
was
tricky,
sent to
tricky.
us.
So, are you fun?
Am I fun?
So, in referencing the article that we read, part of reading it is, are you meeting the students where they are? I don't know where they are a lot, so I don't know how to meet them because every time I think, yeah, I'm doing it, it's like, no, I'm not. They change so fast, right? So meeting them where they are. Okay. So are you fun? Are you fun, Mr. Vitale?
Yeah.
Because I don't think I'm fun. Do I think I'm like entertaining? Do I think I'm a brand that some kids enjoy? Do I think I'm too much for other kids? Absolutely. I always think
Yeah,
of
I'm there.
the quiet children. And I see them sometimes like, like just hearing me because I'm loud. And that,
Same.
and I always say to them, like, it's okay if you don't like me or it's too much. Like, I'm okay with that. As long as we have, a clear, honest respect, mutual respect for one another. However, I don't strive to be fun. And so the word fun kind of bothers me because although I think I'm a laugh riot and most of the time I have the most fun, like just making myself crack up, the idea of it has to be like a thrill a minute entertainment is what got people confused with like, let's make it a game.
Okay.
And I
So
think you can
so I
still
want to.
be engaging
Yeah.
without being fun.
And I want to amend my answer. Then, according to your description,
Yes.
the answer is no,
Okay.
because I'm in the exact same boat as you.
Cool.
I don't do like the things that I do with them are specific to the content that we're doing, but like meeting them where they are, like, okay, there's certain things you can do that with, but what do I do instead? So, and we did this project together, the whole the campaign video thing that we had students do, where kids like made their own campaign commercials after doing a DBQ project document where we were looking at what were the different strategies that are used. They had to identify a strategy. They didn't have to make a commercial based on that strategy. Like, to me, that's meeting them where they are.
I love that project, but
to me, that's an engaging activity.
a
But
lot
some
of
kids are like, meh.
Well, that's true. You're never
Yeah,
going to please everybody. And I don't mean
exactly.
that, but the idea of like you can't talk or lecture or they can't take notes and you want to be moving and moving and and it's like,
That's literally
yeah,
what we did today. We took notes today.
sometimes, but me too. So, today I said, I'm going to tell you guys things. We're going to talk about, you're going to define vocabulary words because if you don't understand what we're talking about by definition,
Mhm.
there's no point in continuing. You can bop around all you want, but you still don't understand what we're even saying, right? Or you can't read anything because you don't know what half the words mean in the reading.
Yeah.
So trying to make it authentic may not always be flashy, zippy, or fun. But it doesn't mean that they're not getting a lot out of it, or it doesn't mean that they're not growing and learning. So I feel like there's a bit of in between right now of what are we supposed to be doing or not doing, and I think that tech sometimes gets
Yeah.
swept up into some,
If
oh, like they're just
if
on
you
the
want
computer again.
if you want kids to memorize information, play games. I mean, that's literally what it is to me. I
Yes.
know how that makes me sound, and I talked a little bit about Quizlet before because of the different modes. Like, I don't even use that very often. I give them paper study guides. I'm like, look, if you want to make a Quizlet yourself, you want to make a Gim kit yourself, you
Do
know
it.
how to do that. Go right ahead. I am not making one for you.
Hmm.
There is scientific research that shows that there's a connection between writing things down and remembering information. So I'm not talking about notes. I'm talking about if they did a study guide and they filled it in. But like I model every single thing that I do. So today or this week when we're in the in the classroom and um if we're reading from the online textbook, because I want to know that when they go home, they're able to access the online textbook. They know how it works. They know how to make the font bigger if they want to. They know how to turn it on as an audiobook. They know how to translate it into Spanish. I go over all of those things if it's necessary for those kids that need to translate it into Spanish. I give them all of that. I talk to them about where to find the answers for some of the assignments that we might do. So we're modeling like a guided reading. Like, okay, you have a section. We're taking notes on this section. What we be looking for? How are we paraphrasing? When we're talking about population growth in the United States, we're looking for a when and a why. When did this happen? And why did it happen? So we're looking for those notes. I'm teaching them how to do that stuff because that's a skill that they do not have. I can't
Boring.
exactly. So if I were doing that, no, and I'm not kidding. If
And
I
is
were
there anything wrong with that?
no, if I were observed, I would
No.
probably not get an effective score, which maybe I
That's
would, and I don't know, but I don't care. Like I
right.
know
It's
that what I'm
debatable.
doing when you want to
That's
talk
right.
about meeting students where they are,
Right.
like students are going to be able to have to extract information. They're going to have to be able to be problem solvers on their own. So that's what a
Hmm.
lot of the activities that I do are structured around. Are we going to
Right.
do like is the next thing that we're doing? We're doing a station activity and we're looking at a graph about population growth and we're looking at a video where they're going to be answering questions and they're
But
going to have a
isn't that the
discussion based
key?
activity.
Isn't that the key?
Was what the case.
All
Doing
the
varied
things.
activities?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's it.
If I did the same, if I played Gimkit day after day after day after day after day after day,
Right.
they'd be bored to tears.
Right. So
It's
it's
like, oh,
supposed
let's
to
do another
be
game.
10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes,
Mhm.
15 minutes, and you're out. And then it's 10 minutes, and it's 15 minutes, and it's 20 minutes, and you're out, depending on the day. And it can't be the same every single day. Right.
Exactly.
So, that is, part of the issue that I have with certain articles that are speaking to, the way that the kids are feeling. I also believe very strongly in silent reading.
Yeah.
You are sitting and attending to a book that is just right for you and also writing
What's the best way to become a better writer?
to read.
To read. That's it. It doesn't matter what you read. You read something that you find
Well,
interesting.
it does matter. It
Well,
does matter what
you
you read because we don't have libraries anymore. So we don't have access to a ton of books, right? We
got it.
also don't get kids' reading levels so proficiently.
Got it.
They used to come to middle school with their reading level. We used to level them, fourth grade, fifth grade, sixth grade. So you could check their test scores a little bit and get like an idea of that. And there are some diagnostics through Linkit where you can get that information. Do you know how to determine a just right book?
No.
Okay. If you're reading a page, even if it's your civics book, and there are 5 words on that page that you don't know, it is too hard for you.
Okay.
Move on. So no kid should ever have a book that they are reading on their own that has more than 5 words on a page they don't know. It is not a just right book.
So when I say like, oh, it doesn't matter what you read, what I mean is I want them to find something that they're interested in. So if you're interested in like baseball, find a
Yes.
book about baseball. Read
Right.
a magazine article about baseball.
That's right.
If you're like, you can also read a graphic novel about Batman or
Right.
Superman.
Right.
Why? Because you're learning dialogue. You're getting visual information. Like,
Punctuation, I get
yeah,
it.
exactly.
But
So like,
that's also the issue of, you're not gonna become a better reader if you're reading something that's too difficult for you,
I
which
get
is
it.
why
Yep,
which is why content area and nonfiction reading becomes such a difficult thing as kids get older. I mean, in a perfect world, are they gonna come being at the level that they should be? Sure. But they don't, and they're not.
Do we
So,
do we allow silent reading? I can't believe I'm asking this. Like, are they like, do they do that? Is that frowned
um,
upon? Like, I'm talking
I
about anywhere. I'm like,
think
like,
oh, yes, anywhere? Yes, yes,
yeah,
yes, 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 yes. Mhm.
yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean,
I would imagine it varies school to school. I think some people probably perceive it as a time waster.
mhm,
I think it's fantastic, and I could never stop doing it.
yeah,
It's just, to me, it's just such an important building block, a part of every single day, and it's never too late to learn to read something you love, right? Because, kids can read, but if they don't have that love for it and they don't have the affection for it, and I don't think that there's a time, I don't think that there's an expiration date for falling in love with the act of reading.
I agree.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
and I am not a voracious reader. I really read at, there's specific things that I'll look for.
yeah,
It happens in the summer for me, or like if I'm traveling or stuff like that. Like I'll have something that I'm going to read. Like that's
yeah,
not my leisure activity of choice.
yeah.
But my daughter, for example, will sit down and read
Oh, yeah,
multiple
yeah.
books all at
You
the
know
same
what's
time.
really sad? I don't think I told you this, but so I started the book club in 2003, and the parents and the kids and the teachers, we all read the same book. We'd meet and talk about it, and it was something that I just loved forever and ever and ever. And we met, 4 or 5 times a year in the evening. It was a great community outreach program. My friends at my old school are no longer getting paid to do it because it doesn't run enough and they don't have enough students participating. They
Yeah.
don't have numbers high enough for it. And they need to prove quantify their time rather than the thousands of books that have been read because of the program over time. But yeah, such a gut punch. I really, it's gone. I mean, they may hold it out like just one more year, but it's going to be over.
Yeah.
And that's really sad
It is sad.
because it helped a lot. I'll never forget because the kids would say, "Oh, what's your favorite book?" I said, "The Five People You Meet in Heaven" will always resonate with me. We read it when it first came out, and I'll never forget a mom who had on a hijab, and she had broken English, trying really hard, and it was the very first book she had ever read in English,
Hmm.
like from cover to cover. And there's this profound discussions that we had about like talking to your children about death and what your belief system is and how you navigate through all of that. It was just so impactful. And there I was, like, in my early 20s. I didn't have kids yet, and it was such an awesome moment. And now it's but which sometimes, the longer in the tooth you get, sometimes you have to say goodbye to things, and that's sad, whether
Unfortunate. It's
it's
unfortunate.
unfortunate because that
Um,
it's wrong, but there it goes. But yes, it's like, to me, it's we want kids to problem solve, but we're, not even giving them the opportunity to learn how to research or really work through a book properly,
mhm.
or like some of the most basic things are what get you to that level of problem solving we're looking for, and that's what's missing.
Yeah. And that's a greater challenge. We're trying to find a flag to charge up the hill, right? That where you can do this in maybe an English class where like there are a few books that are like that I would like to read as a whole class with my 7th graders.
Mm,
But I look at that and I'm like, okay, how much time can I actually take out of the curriculum to do this and have it be meaningful and purposeful?
right.
So that's the other challenge too, is like I want to do things like that, but then is it going to take away from the overall breadth of the curriculum that I have to teach?
Right.
Where I'm all for trying new things. We know that.
In the
But I've
great
also,
word of Jesse Spano, time. There's never enough time.
oh my God, I'm so excited. So there's,
And speaking of time, looks like we're starting to run out of
I
it.
know, it looks like we're starting to run out of it. But no, I think this is definitely a topic and a conversation that we're going to come back to. And I know some of the things that we might have said might have been hot button issues for certain people, or triggering issues, or things that grind their gears.
Mhm.
But I think that these larger conversations need to happen,
Yes.
and have consistency. We'd love to hear from you guys about what you
You
think
know
about
it.
it.
And if you have a way of organizing something that you are, gonna stand behind, tell
Yeah,
us.
just tell Jamie how you would do Google Classroom, so she could tell you that you're wrong, and it's that simple because
I
she's
mean,
been doing it.
I'm pretty open-minded. Maybe I would listen.
You are so open-minded. Um,
I'm sensitive.
Yeah. So yeah, as always, we thank you guys for joining us today. We will be back with you next week with another episode of the Balancing Act podcast. We will see you soon.
Wait,
Yeah. Oh, good
Ah,
Lord. See?
Mr. Vitale, as
Well,
always,
yeah, as always, I
I
appreciate you, buddy.
appreciate you.
Yes.
Okay.
You and your plant. I love it. And me and my printer in the
There
corner.
you go.
Okay, watch us on the
All right.
YouTubes. All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye.
All right, bye.
The Balancing Act podcast will now be available weekly. Check out Apple Podcasts or Spotify and give us a follow. We appreciate you.